Show runs through the entire month of Ramadan, so another 20 days or so to go, which that's the complete month, but that means about 15 shows. Looking forward to you being part of it all throughout. Tell me any thoughts you may have on that conversation with Prof. Sipho Siepe about the DA Federal Congress on the weekend and what happened. You can WhatsApp me 061 766 0355, and that you can do in text form, quick text form, or cool voice notes, which means we can actually play the voice notes on air. Let me just remind you that if you do a voice note, we can play that on the air. If you do a text note, we can read it on the air, okay, which would be great if we do just that. So let's talk about, in fact, before we get to talking about Eskom, let's talk about Centier. So Centier Capital, their invest for good philosophy is based on a genuine desire to use their investment skills for the benefit of a broader society, while also delivering superior returns for clients, regardless of market conditions. You can visit their website, which is centiocapital.com, for more information on their Sharia investment products. Centio Capital, invest for good. Centio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider. All right, let's talk about Eskom. Well, we can't ignore Eskom. They're like the most talked about conversation that we have in our country, I think, all throughout the year. And it's not just load shedding. There's so many different parts of Eskom. Now, we know there's a new board that's been put in place there. It's quite new, fairly recent. We don't have Eskom does not have a CEO, so we don't have a CEO. We have a Minister of Electricity, and let's see what happens there. However, there's an interesting development that's just taken place regarding financial statements and what is called as irregular and fruitless expenditure. Accountants and auditors will know all about that. Let's find out more about what's being said here by the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana. He said that on Friday. Chris Yelland with me is an energy expert and talks all things Eskom. Chris, appreciate your time. Hi.
Hi, good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
Thank you. I would suggest they probably should call you, the Minister of Electricity, because probably nobody knows Eskom and their dealings better than Chris Yelland over the last couple of years. They clearly haven't sought your advice, have they?
Look, I heard yesterday something that I thought was very disturbing, and that was that the minister had gazetted the finance minister gazetted in the government gazette a exemption from Eskom reporting its wasteful, irregular, and fruitless expenditure in its annual financial statements. So normally these things are reported annually in the financial statements, but this notice exempted Eskom from reporting this for the next 3 years. That is for the 2022-23 financial year, 23-24, and 24-25. No explanation given. And of course, it's very disturbing that all of a sudden this Eskom should be no longer reporting these in its annual financial.
But let's break it down. I mean, am I right in saying? I mean, you may not be the auditor, and neither am I, but I think we all know that exempting the disclosure of irregular and fruitless expenditure in the annual financial statement, certainly of a public company or a public organization, is highly irregular in its own way, isn't it?
Well, that's what one would think. And in the absence of any explanation, I'm just not sure what to make of this. Now, I have heard, and I spoke to the Eskom CEO yesterday evening to find out more about this, and he said that it's not an April Fool's joke, it's for real, and that they would still, however, be reporting this information in what is known as a consolidated report, the Eskom consolidated report. What I just can't understand, and I'm still waiting for an explanation, is why is it deemed necessary now to not report it in the annual financial statement firstly? And why only for a limited period, for 3 years? I mean, if this was just a financial reporting matter of a technical nature, in terms of, accounting principles and standards, why is it only being done now? And why is it only for a limited period? And that hasn't been answered yet, and I'm waiting for an answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at a note here, and it talks about that. Yes, although there's an exemption there, the minister says that all irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure must still be detailed in the Eskom annual report. Okay, which is not the same as the financial statements. I'm trying to understand.
They're talking about they talk there about the Eskom consolidated report. So they say that they will still continue to report this in the consolidated report, but not in the annual financial statement. Now, I just don't understand the reasoning behind this. I have asked for the reasoning. What is the logic, the rationale, and why is it only for a 3-year period that this exemption is? But I haven't got an answer yet.
So in the absence of an answer and the absence of an explanation by the Minister of Finance on Friday, and you're very clear it's not an April Fool's joke, and we're well past that now because that happened on Saturday, right? I mean, one would have to speculate then in terms of what could be the reasons. And I'm looking at it from my side. Well, the only reasons is to, in this case here, hide inefficiency, isn't it? Without even using stronger words than that.
Yeah, well, you see, I mean, that is unfortunately the negative perception that is created by this notice. And let us just say this: if we were to look at this, in the brightest way and in the most positive way, I think the best that you can say about this is it would then be absolutely inept communication. To leave this matter hanging, to create this kind of speculation without giving clear answers is very, very poor communication, and it must raise a lot of doubts in the minds of the public, of the media, but also very importantly in the investment community. Because investors do not like to see this kind of thing. I'm talking about people who buy Eskom bonds and trade in Eskom bonds. This is a very negative message coming out.
Now, again, in the absence of actual information, we are speculating, we are fishing. We know that you and I both are. I mean, the article talks about. It says in response to a letter from the Eskom chairperson Impo Makwana. Right now, we know Eskom doesn't have a CEO at the moment, but does it give the impression that the request came from the chairperson, or the chairperson simply wanted clarity? And the finance minister then said, well, let me give you clarity. Yes, they are exempt. I'm just interested to know the difference there.
The way this is an article you refer to by Carol Payton in Media 24, News 24, where she quotes some response from the Treasury to say that this notice was an action in response to a request from the chairman of Eskom, Mr. Impo Makwana. No further details are given, but on the face of it, it looks to us like the chairman of the Eskom board, asked the minister to publish such a notice. And there's no reason given, no explanation. We still don't know those answers yet. And I hope we will know them, because it's really important to know them. Why are they doing? What is the rationale? Are they trying to hide something? These are all, I think, valid questions in the absence of fuller information.
Yeah. All right. Maybe just the last thing for now, and I'm sure we'll have longer conversations about Eskom some other time. But the last thing for now, right? So we don't have a CEO. Andre de Ruyter's not there. Of course, he's willing to testify about some of his thoughts. We know that part, right? We do have a new board, right? And they've just been there for a few months, in fact, right? Is there anything you can tell us in your analysis of Eskom, whether the new board has begun to make a difference so far that gives you the hope that, in fact, the issues that have been bedeviled Eskom for such a long time will be sorted out? We know it's not going to happen in one day, but do you get any sense that actually we have the right type of senior management here at board level that will feed into the management of Eskom?
Can you hear me? Because the line is breaking.
Yes, I can. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Look, the board took office about 6 months ago. Yeah. And they have, I think, been highly preoccupied, obviously, with the question of load shedding, as well as the whole question of Eskom's financial sustainability. The Eskom financial results, the interim results came out late, and they came out on Friday, the 31st, a couple of months late. And it paints a very, very dire picture of Eskom's status as a going concern. And I think this sort of crisis management is where the board has been focusing on, as opposed to long-term, more strategic issues. Having said that, I must tell you that you cannot expect a board to solve the problems on the ground at the power stations. That is, the task and the work of the power station managers, the executive team on the power station, and the people, the workers, the technicians, the engineers on the power stations themselves. A board itself, only meets now and again. It's not a full-time process, and their job is oversight. It's not about operations. The operations are in the hands of the Chief Operating Officer of Eskom, as well as the executives at Eskom and the people in the power station, not the board. So I don't think we can expect the board itself to kind of make that kind of difference.
Yeah. Okay. Any last thoughts in terms of what you've seen from the board? However, anything that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I am concerned that there appears on the face of it to be a lowering of communication, less transparency. And this latest announcement in the government gazette fuels those kind of perceptions. We've seen a significant reduction in the number of media briefings that has been given by Eskom. There was also the NUCOM meetings that were supposed to take place weekly, which included the head of Eskom Generation. These seem to have stopped. And there is also perceptions that information given out on the Eskom portal, the data portal, as well as the daily system status tweets and messages that have been put out to the media in the past have actually now stopped. So there are these growing perceptions that there is a lockdown, or what I might call a national blackout of Eskom information. Now, it's still early days, and I don't want to jump to conclusions, but that is a growing perception within the media.
Okay, and of course, for all of us as people in South Africa impacted by what Eskom does and does not do, we are so desperate for some light on the matter. But let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time, Chris Yelland. Appreciate your thoughts, and let's follow that story as to the why in terms of the exemptions. I think it's a big and a really important issue. Appreciate your time there. We'll talk about Egypt in Ramadan, but a different twist because of a growing number of people who actually are going to iftars on the outside, those tables, not because they think it's cool or it's wonderful in terms of the communal spirit of Ramadan, inshallah, but more so out of desperation, call it poverty.